This week's episode is brought to you by Stand Up Records, the funniest comedy in the world. Look for the debut release of Fancy Ray McCloney's The Best Looking Man in Comedy, available March 27th. Visit standuprecords.com to get your copy of Fancy Ray McCloney's The Best Looking Man in Comedy and to find all the funniest comedy in the world. That's standuprecords.com.
Hey, stop talking. I'm trying to tell jokes up here. That's what's coming up on The Art of Bombing, episode 123.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Now podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Art of Bombing. I'm Dan Bublitz Jr. It is Tuesday. Hope everybody had a fantastic week. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode. I thought that was a great conversation that I had with Eric Hellweg, a.k.a. Death. He had a great story about playing Death on America's Got Talent. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check it out. It was a great conversation. I have another fantastic guest this week. This week I had a great conversation with Carolyn Blomberg. She's a fantastic comedian based in the Twin Cities. We had a great conversation. That's what's going to be coming up on the show today. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to do some business. I'm going to try to keep the intro as short as I can so we can get into this great conversation. If you want to see me live, I will be performing at the Laugh Camp Comedy Club in St. Paul, Minnesota, downtown St. Paul, Minnesota, March 6th and 7th. That's this coming Friday and Saturday. You can go to my website, danbublitz.com, to get information about those shows and all the shows that I got coming up. I got a lot of stuff coming up in March and some April and May. I'm going to be all over the place. And again, just a reminder, I'm throwing out all my episodes that I have in the bank right now. I've got probably 6 or 7 left, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe 5 to 7, and then I'm going to take a little break. But don't worry, that doesn't mean that the podcast is not going away. I'm just taking a little break. I won't be releasing episodes, but while I'm traveling and touring, I'll most likely be recording episodes and rebuilding the bank. So I just need some time off. I got to finish school, and I'm going on a big tour. I'm going to be gone for like 3 weeks in May. And then plus I'm getting ready for this dry bar taping. So got all that coming up, so that's why I'm going to be taking a break. But either way, we got lots of content that I'm going to try to release as fast as I can. All right, so with that being said, thanks for listening, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, because like I said, we are coming back. So subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and review, 5 stars. Don't need no negativity. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it. We just want the 5 stars, positive reviews. However, if you have constructive feedback that you would like to share, instead of leaving a nasty review and trolling us, instead, you can email us at theartofbombingpod@gmail.com. I'm always open to constructive feedback. I like to grow. I'd like to improve the podcast. If you've been a fan of the podcast since the beginning, you know that we've improved a lot. I put a lot of time and effort into making this a better and better product. And if you have suggestions, I'm always open to them. However, I'm not open to negativity and trolling just for the sake of being a troll. So get that stuff right out of here. And another way you can contact us, you can go to the website, artofbombingpod.com, leave a comment on the website. While you're there, you can also check out the merch that we have and the blog. And I think part of this downtime that I'm going to be taking, I'm going to be working on doing some behind-the-scenes stuff for the podcast and some stuff with the website. I talked about maybe throwing up a forum, so that might be coming to the website. Lots of things coming up. So don't worry, the podcast is not going away. It is just taking a little hiatus for part of the spring, early summer. I don't know. I haven't decided how long yet. But either way, we will be back. We'll be back in full force. And while you're on the website as well, if you think you're getting something out of this and you want to contribute financially to help with the production costs, because all this money comes out of my pocket, but I like to do it, and that's why I keep doing it. But if you want to contribute because you feel like it's worth paying for, You can do that by leaving a donation in the tip jar at artofbombingpod.com. But that is not necessary. If you really want to help the show, share it with somebody. Tell somebody about it. Subscribe. Leave that review. Leave that rating. That's how you can help the most. All right, that's enough of my babbling for this week. Sorry, I just keep rambling. If you're not already, follow us on all the social media. My personal social media is dboobletscomedy. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Then I have the Dan Booblets Comedy Facebook page. We have the Art of Bombing Pod at Instagram, Twitter, Art of Bombing Podcast page. There's an Art of Bombing Facebook group. If you want to join that, you can find that through the Art of Bombing Facebook page. All right, here's my conversation with Carolyn. Enjoy. Did Bull's Horn last night?
I did. Are we recording?
I am recording.
Oh,
Yep,
fun.
got it
Okay.
going. Yep, got it going already.
That was natural convo.
Yeah, just I just go right into
Yeah, I'm
it.
into that.
Just
I'm
like,
into that.
boom.
That's what Pete Holmes does. And every time
Yeah.
people are like, "Are we recording?"
Yep.
It's like, yes. You should know that by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Bull's Horn last night, and it was fine. It was fine.
It's a bar show. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like one of them things you gotta just have fun with it. You
Yeah.
know what you're getting into.
Kind of,
you know?
yeah. And I mean, I just feel bad when it sucks and I get paid for it, and you get free dinner and a free drink. I was like, I don't deserve any of this, because it was 10 minutes. It was supposed to be 15, but it was 10, which is totally fine with me.
Yeah.
And I did mostly new jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a whole bunch of ideas and premises, but like
Nothing
zero
solid.
punchlines. So this is called The Art of Bombing. Maybe it's that one. Maybe it was last night.
Oh
It was just
no!
that recent.
That's how it was for me. I bombed like twice last night.
Where'd you go?
I went to Amsterdam Bar and Grill and then Blackheart. And Amsterdam, that was my fault. I made just a dumb mistake, and
Did you say the N-word?
No, not that bad. Not that bad. No. I'm woke enough to know what words not to say. No, there was a guy that went on before me. It was like his first time that he ever did comedy or whatever, and he was like an older guy, and he just did like, I don't know what it was, but he was like doing a Irish or a Scottish accent.
Okay.
And he just like told a story in this accent, and I just like, there was like no laughs hardly, and just, you know, he had people that he brought to watch, and I went and I didn't try. I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just like, everybody was confused. There was like an elephant in the room, you know?
Sure.
So I was like, I went up on stage and I was just like, you know, it's like, I don't know how to follow it. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
You know, I like kind of addressed it. And then I tried talking to him, and he was like already in his conversation with his table or whatever. Oh. And like, it was
like, the show's not over because you're done.
Super awkward.
That's too bad.
And then I was like, all right, well, now that I've wasted 30 seconds looking like a total ass, let's try to do some jokes.
Right. Isn't it crazy that, like, if somebody back in 1976 went up and did some story in like a great Scottish accent, people would be like, yeah, dude, that was great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Innovative, creative. Yeah. And now people are like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Like, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, characters and stuff were so much more, like in the 80s. Especially.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and especially when you only have like 3 minutes, you know, like it's an only 3-minute open mic. And so like, if you go into like a character, like with no like build up to it, you know, it's like, it's one thing if people are doing characters and there's kind of a lead into it, but he just went up and literally just started talking like that. And then it was funny because then he talked to me a minute, like when I was on stage, because I asked him if, you know, because that's what I said. I made a joke. I was like, oh, somebody must have lost a bet. And like, nobody I know. I was like, yeah, I'm total asshole. No. And I should have just not said anything and just went and did my material. No. And that's why I'm not a roaster, because I just come off as an asshole.
I'm terrible at roasting. I posted something on Facebook wanting people to roast me today, and everybody sucked at it.
I'm too nice usually, and if I try to roast, it just comes off mean.
Well, that's what it is, right? Also, Maybe it's just because I'm unroastable. That's not true.
Oh.
That's not true at all.
Like, challenge accepted.
No, but isn't that crazy that, like, Andy Kaufman was, like, a genius and did that shit when he went on stage and was, like, didn't have an ounce of who he really was on stage.
Just total character.
Yeah. And now when people do it, they're like, what are you doing? Although people did that with Andy Kaufman, too.
Yeah. Well, when I was in San Diego, there was a guy that we for the longest time, we thought he was doing a character, and it just turned out he was not.
That's just who he is.
Just who he was.
All right.
And it was like, all right. I think if it was like one of them deals, it's like, wow, if he was actually doing a character, this would have been genius.
Right.
And then you find out that he's not doing a character, and you're like, oh, it's almost a little sad.
But what if he kind of
But then
is?
maybe, but he
like,
still could be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
like,
love
he could
thinking
just
about
be,
that. Like the band, whatever, group, but Deontward?
I don't think so.
Deontward. They're South African, and they're like, some people love them, some people really hate them. I like them. I think they're kind of crazy, and I don't know. Look them up.
Okay,
I don't want to spend the entire podcast explaining Deontward to you, but I want them to be. I want it to be a character, but there's like no cracks, so I don't know how to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's characters are tricky. Can be. I mean. But then I guess that's kind of why that's more, on the lines of sketch, that you get into more where you're doing a character. It's more of a sketch than it is stand-up. That's how some people see it, I guess.
But even, I haven't done improv in a while, but when I was like super into it, it wasn't super common for people to bring really crazy characters out,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't been to an improv show in years, so maybe people are up to it now. But
yeah, I think about that too. Like I dabble in improv, not a lot. Like I take classes. let's leave it at that. I don't.
You can
perform.
say you do improv.
Well, no, I mean I actually don't. I don't do improv. I take classes because I think it helps me as a stand-up.
Sure,
but I am not. I don't perform improv.
But you do scenes in your classes.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you can say that you improvise.
I improvise, but I don't perform it though. That's what I'm saying.
Fair.
Like I take the classes and stuff, but I haven't like worked with a group or whatever. I did like one live performance, and that was with the class. Yeah.
Are you in the second level?
Not yet. I'm waiting for it to start up because I'm actually taking it through. Her name's Ash Webb. And she studied like with the Groundlings and stuff like that. So she's not working with one of the improv theaters. She's just kind of working out of, I don't know, there's like a studio type place it's actually over by Bunny's.
Oh, okay.
It's across the street from there. There's like a performance, like it's just like offices kind of, but they do like, there's like a dance place and there's an acting thing and like all kinds of like, different stuff or whatever. So she teaches out of there. But.
Yeah, I'm taking an improv to sketch class at Strike Theater.
Oh, nice.
Starting in March. I haven't done improv in so long. I just feel like I need to because my brain feels very smooth, like a koala's, like a dumb koala's. And I need to like do things to make it work.
Yeah,
and improv is really good for that.
It is. It definitely keeps you sharp. It's good for writing too.
That's the hope. For this class.
Kevin McDonald teaches sketch writing through improv.
I know. I've taken 2 of his courses.
Oh, have you?
When he came to town for that a couple years ago.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
we had him at our festival, not this last year, but the year before.
Nice.
He brought his class. It was pretty cool.
Cool. He's very cool.
Very neurotic.
Yeah, well,
but awesome. Just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Sweetheart of a guy. So you did some new stuff, mostly premises.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, we got to remember that. Okay, I'm back.
Well, and we're back to the art of bombing.
Yeah, I tried some new crap, and then I shoved some old stuff in that kind of worked, and then kept doing old crap. One new thing worked that I think I can like tell again. The other stuff is definitely, sit down and think about what you've done.
Work it out a little bit. Yeah, I've definitely been there. A lot of premises going out. Well, we'll get into the bombing part of this. As far as a story goes of a time when you thought you bombed really bad or just a really bad show.
well, can I combine some stories?
No, absolutely.
There's no like one really awful. I can't think of one single time.
No, absolutely.
I can think of many times.
Well, yeah, of course. Can't we all?
But it's hard to choose the worst out of them, you know? Cause
That's fair.
That's fair. I remember when I first started, way back after 2006.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I was doing Grumpy's Death Comedy Jam, and oh my god, did you ever do that room?
No.
Okay.
I'm aware of it.
Okay,
but,
so
yeah,
it is now defunct, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or the building anyway is gone. But the room was set up kind of like a school bus, where it's a very like a hallway.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And the stage is at the far end, and then there's some booths, so half the audience is not even facing you, and then the other half is like bar stools against a window. And no one ever did well there, I don't think. But I was apparently having a really bad night, and I like just emotionally bad day. Mm-hmm. And then I did this set, and I was such a little baby. I was like 22 or 23 or whatever, and I got off, and I was so embarrassed. Like anybody cared, like nobody cares, you know. Yeah. And I got in my car so ashamed and embarrassed, and I cried on the way home. It was like such a stupid, and I was like so hard on myself for this dumb, like it was such a fun mic in general, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's not so much about doing bad that we get upset. It's about doing bad in front of other comics.
Exactly.
Where it's like we're almost like trying to we want them to accept us, and we want and we feel
respect.
like in respect, and the only way to do that is to be funny.
Kind of.
And I mean that's how it feels.
It certainly does. And so that big part of it is the comics thing. That's why last night was kind of hard, because I mean 90% of the audience was comics. Mm-hmm. But I gotta remind myself that none of the comics watch.
yeah, they're
except
busy.
For like Davon was really nice and watched, and Alex Suave will watch, you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, everybody is just like watching their own, or
just
you know what I mean,
waiting to go on.
Exactly.
Or about,
and I'm the same way, and I feel like a dick about it, but I know that's just
part of the. That's exactly what happened at Blackheart too. Mm-hmm. There was an audience, but by the time I got up, because I got there late, so by the time I ended up getting up, all the audience had left, and then it was just comics.
And then it's like, what's the point even? It
might
as well turn into a workshop at that point.
I
would probably,
really
if it were just comics, I'd probably be like, do you guys have any ideas for this? I'm kind of stuck on this. Let's do some bits.
Workshop
let's just
it.
Yeah. Anybody want to do some improv? But yeah, so I care way more about doing poorly in front of comics than I do in front of total strangers. Like, another terrible time was just this past weekend. It wasn't that bad, but there was a heckler, and I'm not very good at dealing with hecklers.
Was the heckler the same person that came up to you after the show?
No, but I'll talk about that
all right.
too. Oh my god, what a fucking nightmare. I won't say where this show was.
I know where it was
for no reason. I just don't want to be shunned from.
Yeah.
Beep beep for my entire life. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Although it probably wouldn't be that bad. It's Sauk Rapids and it sucks.
There it is. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Whatever. It doesn't suck. A few of the people who were at the show sucked. So I was doing my thing, and this lady just kept yapping throughout the whole thing. She was right in front of, to my left, first table right there, and she was clearly drunk, and she was talking to this dude she was with the whole time, and I have a joke about Dutch ovens, Dutch ovening a person, and I asked the audience, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, who doesn't know what a Dutch oven is. And one person right behind her clapped, and she turned around and was like, "Oh, a Dutch oven is when you..." And I was like, no, I have a whole thing. I got a whole thing about it. You sit down and relax. I'm doing the heavy lifting tonight. You just relax, you know? And she didn't. She kept talking, and I tried to ignore it throughout the whole thing. I had to, I definitely was like, ma'am, like a couple times, and she got kind of annoyed at me for that. But
yeah, it's funny how people will come to a show and they'll pay money for that show and then get mad because it's like you're ruining their time because they're ruining the show.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I just don't get that. Like
yeah, and throughout the show there was another woman to my right, directly to first table there, who wasn't being mean heckling, but she was definitely like answering my questions, my hypothetical questions or whatever.
Yeah, kind of annoying more than anything.
Right, like adding to things. And she was pretty annoyed. And then for the headliner after me, I guess the two of these hecklers started like heckling at each other.
Oh, Jesus.
And like the nicest one was like yelling at the drunk one. I mean, they were both drunk. The other one for ruining the show for everyone, which is like, but you're also ruining the show for everyone.
Yeah.
But at the end of my set, I realized that my set is like so juvenile when I tell stories like this, because I'm like, but at the end when I was doing my ball sack joke, it's like she was so rude during my fart joke.
How dare her?
I know. So and that guy later told me to drop the booger stuff. So there's just that's what you can expect for a Carolyn Blomberg.
Boogers, balls, and heckling.
Exactly. Boogers, balls, and farts is like, and heckling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that sucks about shows like that. Even though they're trying to like do their best to run it like a comedy show, like a legit, they're bringing in legit features and headliners. Because it's a bar, they're not like policing that kind of stuff.
Right. And somebody from the bar did come and talk to this woman, but didn't take her out.
Yeah.
But this woman, so I was doing my ball sack joke, and this woman was talking to the guy she was with, and it was my big closer. And I was like, ma'am, listen, I'm trying to teach you how to tickle your dude's balls. And she got so mad at me for saying that. For some reason, she got really angry with me. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm out of here in like a minute. Just relax. And she was like, thank God. I was like, oh, my God, what a... Ugh. She got taken out during the headliner set. So.
Well, at least finally got taken out, I guess.
The dude she was with took her out of the show.
Oh, well, then like, know. That's when you know it's bad. When the people you're with get so embarrassed, they take you out. When it's like, okay, you're embarrassing me now. Let's get out of here.
Clearly embarrassed, like during my set. I can't, and she got worse. So.
Oh man, that's always the worst.
It was rough.
Who was the headliner?
Tommy Thompson.
Oh, nice.
He's great.
Yeah, he is great.
Really fun.
Great.
It was actually a really fun trip. Like we drove up there together, and
yeah, that's always nice.
And it's always fun to get a hotel.
Huh?
And it's always fun to get your own hotel.
It really
you
is.
Just feel like an adult, like a real professional.
I know. Even when the hotels aren't that great, it's still like,
but
still, get a hotel.
It's still really cool. I looked on the website before I packed to see if there was a pool. I feel like I keep having to look at the thinking that
it's there, but we don't.
Thinking like, oh, maybe there's a pool. The website said nothing about a pool, so I assumed there was no pool. Did not pack a swimming suit.
Oh, and then I
get there. The lady in the lobby was like, and the pool is to your right. And I was like, I could have swam in bacteria-filled water.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed that there wasn't an old Chicago attached.
I know. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, were you just there, like within the week before you? Oh, that's right. You
I was the week there. Yeah.
Yes. Who was the headliner for that one?
It ended up being. Oh man, I can't remember his name. It was the first time I met him.
Oh, he's not
Mike Merrifield.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah, he's based kind of in Nashville and Wisconsin, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be Nate Ashire, and then had to back out or whatever. So
because he's Nate Ashire.
Yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, he's good.
I didn't know he was even in town. Must not be because he backed out. So
well, yeah. I actually don't think he was in town. I think that's part of what happened. But yeah, and then the headliner ended up having car problems, and he didn't get there till after I was up.
Oh wow!
Performing, they were like panicking. They're
kind of scary.
They're like, "Do you know what the headliner's phone number is?" I was like, I didn't even know there was a change in headliner
I can't
until
even
I got
believe
here.
they started the show without the headliner there.
Well,
Or some word from the headliner.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It's like he didn't call the bar or anything, I don't think. I don't know. But
weird.
Yeah, he ended up, he was there, so that's all
good.
that mattered. They ended up, because they started late, but they ended up having to start because they're like, well, we have a band after the show.
Yeah.
Know, so
they had a DJ after us, so it wasn't as pertinent that we stopped.
Well, which is nice. Yeah, they had a band and karaoke. That bar's the craziest.
It is crazy
because they had a band in the back after the comedy show, and then there was like karaoke DJ out in the front part of the bar. So there's a lot of stuff going on at that bar.
It's like everybody in Sauk Rapids is there.
Yeah, pretty much.
No. Yeah,
that's what it seemed like.
Well, I got what is it, a 6-month turnaround or whatever? We can't go back there for 6 months after we've performed.
Yeah, something like that.
So bummer.
Right?
Can't go back until August or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder, do they do shows there in the summer too?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
This was my first time there.
Oh yeah, the same. Mm-hmm. It was my first as well.
No.
Yeah, it was fun. I ended up hanging out with some people after the show.
Oh, nice.
Whatever.
Yeah, after the show. Oh my, you mentioned this. After the show, a guy came up to me, and he was. At first, he went to the headliner and was like, "Dude, you were so good. You were so funny, man. You're so funny." And then he came to me and he was like, "Yeah, you're pretty funny too, but yeah, you're pretty short, you know. Like I know I'm short too, but like maybe like I could barely see you, you know. I have to like move my head to see you. So like maybe wear some heels or something. That's an idea, you know." And I was like, cool.
You should have been like, wait, you couldn't see me? Maybe you should have sat on your friend's shoulders.
Yeah.
Or something.
What?
What do you mean you had to move to see me?
Who do you have control of in this situation? Yourself, sir. Yeah, and then he was he's like, yeah, and you got like he was giggling like the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you get, you kind of have like a sexy librarian thing going on for you, you know, like, and that's cool, but like, nobody wants to look at an ugly girl on stage, so maybe like some lipstick or something. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I was laughing at him because it's like, what an absurd person.
Yeah,
like,
no,
absolutely. What a crazy person you are. But then when he said that, I was like, are you serious? Like that, what a double standard. You would never say that about a dude.
No, not at all.
And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, Rodney Dangerfield. Like, no, but what? Like, you could never say that to a guy, but a woman, we're just here to look at. So.
Apparently. Just to go up on stage, don't be funny, just stand up there, apparently. Yeah. That's how they see it. That's kind of an odd... Do you think, because he was, like, giggly, do you think that was, like, his way of flirting with you? Like, he thought he was being...
Possible.
Like, he was being cute and...
It's maybe...
Like, in his mind.
Maybe he was negging me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like the pickup artist.
What
was his name? Azrael? What the fuck was that guy's name?
I don't know. I've never bought into any of that stuff. I'm all in favor of being nice to people.
Right.
Like, yes, hey, you're dumb. Let's go hang out.
What a stupid idea.
It's such a dumb concept.
Oh my god.
And what's even worse though is that people think it works.
Yeah, okay, you know what's so stupid about this? Okay, I did watch that show when it was on VH1. What is it, 2003 maybe that was on early?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, and there was a guy on it. I don't even remember the dude's name, but he was super cute and he was like a real nerd. And then this fucking dude, the
pickup artist,
the pickup artist himself, like gave him that stupid velour top hat or whatever, and just like made him look so stupid. But you could tell that he was really sweet. And this was like the beginning of Facebook, so maybe it was like 05, I don't know. Whatever.
Right in that ballpark.
Yeah, and I found him on Facebook and I private messaged him. And we became friends on Facebook. So I'm like friends with this dude.
That was on the pickup artist?
That was on the pickup artist. I think he won the pickup artist. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what the show was. I know that there was a show, but I never watched it.
It just triggered a memory.
Uh-oh. You're going to look and see if you're friends.
Yeah, that's so fun. We chatted a little bit. Talked about salsa dancing. I remember that.
Oh, interesting.
What was this guy's name? Maybe he's single. Greg. His name was Greg.
Greg. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I don't remember his last name, though.
That's interesting how social networking allows people to do that. It's
Yeah.
almost scary.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of interesting how like people are able to connect through.
And it's weird that like the pickup artist as a show, as an idea, is negging women, or like just the concept. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just rambling out. But like that, I was negged into messaging Greg from the pickup artist.
Oh,
it
snap.
worked.
Oh my God.
So many layers to being a pickup artist.
Such a psychological
I know.
monster. Oh
Little
my God. A
19-year-old
lot of manipulation
Carolyn.
going on there.
Yes, right. Yes.
Wow.
Funny.
It'd be interesting to see if like the people that were on the show or whatever, like how they're doing now.
I'm gonna
You know what I
deep
mean?
dive
Like
into that
if-
tomorrow at work.
if
You better
they-
believe me.
I want an
a lot of
update. I
time.
want to know. I want
I
to
will
know.
I
I'm
will let
curious
you know.
now because
I will for sure do that.
It's
I'm very
like-
excited about
I'm
it.
like, I wonder what happens after you've been on a show like that. You learn these tricks. Did it work, or are you still like
What happened to you?
Yeah, it's still nerdy guy that doesn't talk to women.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
like what?
Or did you get married to a woman who clearly married you because you were on this VH1 show,
Well,
and
that's-
not because of you yourself? Your
That's
personality?
probably the most logical
right. And did
explanation of things that would happen.
It work out? Man.
When you do have a bad set, what do you try to do to get better? What are things that you do?
During the set?
Well, no,
Or,
not
like,
necessarily.
after,
Like
or-
after. Like, are you watching tapes,
No.
listening to audio, writing tricks and stuff like that?
Okay, here's a secret.
Uh-oh.
I'm like not everyone. Some people think I'm like a funny comedian. I'm not a comedian. Like, I don't feel like I'm a comedian. I feel like a fraud. Is that
Imposter syndrome.
is that what that
It's-
is?
Yeah.
Because I feel like
You feel like a fraud.
I'm lying to everyone. Like, oh my God, they bought it again. Sweet. Like, free dinner, drink tickets. Hell yeah.
You're
know?
like, I'm just faking it here.
I'm just faking it.
You
No.
Get me a free meal and some drinks. Hell yeah.
Yes. Give me $50. Right?
I'm an actor. That's what's
Yes,
going on. I'm
exactly.
acting like a comedian.
Bring it all back to Andy Kaufman. I'm Andy Kaufman. Face rips off.
Oh, snap.
That's your
I
reaction.
got a legend in here.
I was going to say, that's your reaction if that really happened. Oh, snap.
Well, I would have to really sit back and take that in because that would be a lot to process.
It'd be a
in
mixture
moment.
of horror and surprise and
a lot of
glee,
emotions.
probably?
Yeah, a lot of emotions.
Adoration. It's a real roller coaster scenario.
Yes.
No, I say that because I suck at writing. I don't know how. Like, I get so anxious when I just sit down with a piece of paper, like a Word document or whatever. Because anytime I think of something funny, as soon as I put pen to paper, I'm like, that's not funny. That's not funny at all. Why even write that? It deletes all funniness out of any idea. And sometimes, like, I put a lot of just general ideas into my notes on my phone. So sometimes I'll look into that. But I'm not good at, like, sitting down and, like, really concentrating on writing and figuring out punchlines for ideas, which is why last night sucked. They usually come through conversation with friends, or they come from improvising like during a set on stage.
Do you do a lot of that? Do you do a lot of improvising when you do stand-up?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on the show, but there's a lot of improvised sections. Like, if there's a structure, but within that is some improvisation. But I get so anxious about, like, sitting down and concentrating, and I don't know why. I'm afraid of success.
Aren't we all? We're all our own worst enemies and
Actually, I'm afraid of
self-sabotaging ourselves.
my therapist says.
Oh.
That's how you know it's a stable person. My therapist says.
Oh, then you're on track.
that a lot of people get, like, anxious about, living.
Yeah.
But she was like, people are worried about being their true self and being, like, vulnerable and then ultimately being rejected. So
Which makes sense. I mean,
clearly I'm afraid to be my ultimate self because I could be rejected for it.
that's a fair Assassination. I can't even talk.
Assassination.
That's a fair assassination. That was not the word I was going for, but
there's got to have been a fair assassination in the past, right? Right, Jack Ruby. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you though on that. Like, I have a hard time sitting down and writing. Like, unless I'm writing a script or something like that, but like jokes, I can't just like write jokes and punchlines.
I have to like throw it around with someone else and see if like, because someone else's energy of enjoying what I'm saying gives me more energy to like say funny shit. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I definitely think it helps to be able to like bounce ideas off people. You can get to a joke more organically because really stand up is just a conversation. It's just a one-sided conversation, and if you can come up with your jokes through a conversation, then you can kind of transfer that over to the stage.
Right, exactly. My friend Jen, shout out to Jen in Denver. She lived here, and that's how I met her, through improv. And we do all kinds of fun stuff together. We do like photo shoots. She's a photographer, and I do makeup. I do like special effects, crazy makeup. So I'll do that, and she'll photograph it. But she also is like sort of a comedy writing partner for me. Or she was anyway when she lived here. But then she had to move to Denver. So it's not as easy to just, write with her. So since she moved, I've had a hard time finding someone else to bounce ideas around with that clicks as well.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I totally get that. That's I feel like I transferred into a new high school when I moved here.
Oh God,
that's what it feels like to me. I'm like, oh God, this is like high school.
Where'd you move from?
Oh, I moved from South Dakota, but I lived in San Diego before that. So I did that, and then I moved back to the Midwest, and then I lived in South Dakota, and then now here. So
when did you move here?
I've only been here since last April, so I haven't even been here.
I was
going to
say, you're pretty new.
Yeah, new to the area.
New face.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I came, like, when I first started doing comedy, I came up to the cities a couple times before I moved to California, but like a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
So.
What brought you up here? This is now an interview.
No, well, now, what brought me up here now is my fiance works for U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, cool.
And she took essentially a promotion, like where we were at where we lived before. She was working out of a field office, but to like advance, she needed to move up to a regional office, and so that's what brought us here.
Probably cheaper here than San Diego, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we weren't together when I lived in San Diego.
Oh, and South Dakota.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We actually went to high school together.
Oh,
and then, like, went our own ways or whatever, and we've just been friends over the years, and then we reconnected.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Minneapolis is way more expensive than South Dakota.
It is. But it's also way cooler. Like, there's way more to do, even though I don't do anything.
But
I like
still, the option is
exactly.
there.
I like the options, because that's one thing I missed about San Diego, is there was, like, always something I could go do.
Right.
Granted, I did do more when I was out there when I could afford it, because the weather was a lot nicer. Yes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so she works in land conservation.
Okay,
is essentially what she does. So yeah, that's why we're here now.
I met her. She's great. Yeah. And your dogs and cat.
My cat. Yeah, I love my animals are the best.
Your family.
My family is the best. That will be my family. That's no kids for me. The bumming and bombing, that dreadful feeling we get when we bomb.
You mean depression?
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to cherry coat it a little bit. You're
depression?
Just like, depression?
Yeah, I am, because that's what it is. Doesn't it send you spiraling sometimes?
Oh, geez, sometimes. I've had to be talked off a ledge or two. That's definitely. I've made some phone calls where I was like, yeah, I should probably quit.
God, it's the dumbest.
It really is.
But it makes sense, because when we're up there, we are ourselves, even though I'm like saying I'm not my true self yet. But like I am so far, and I don't have a character on stage. I just am who I am.
Yeah.
So it's like everything I say is me coming. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
I feel like a stoner right now. But so rejection from complete strangers of putting like your naked self out there is pretty hard.
Yeah.
So of course it's gonna fuck us up.
Oh, absolutely.
But when we get an incredible show, oh my God.
Like fucking drugs.
I smoke a decent amount of pot. And I've done mushrooms once and it was fantastic. But
it's one thing I haven't done yet, but I've been thinking about it.
it was fun. It was only once. That's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's keeping it weird.
Keeping it weird. No, but doing well is on par, if not higher than that.
Oh, I would absolutely say that. I've been
on top of the
stoned a time or two,
world.
and there's no feeling that I've had than having a really good set.
What is? Is it?
it's-
Does our brain process it as love, even though it's total strangers, appreciating momentarily people who will not remember us?
I suppose
next week
there is some love there. I mean, you feel some love, but I think it's you're feeling accepted. It's that instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you're doing something and they're appreciating what you're doing, and you have that instant gratification. And then when it goes really good,
energy.
makes the
Special energy.
adrenaline just pump through your body.
It
and
makes
you're
you.
yes.
It makes you wonder. Like, clearly, us comedians do need some kind of validation from total strangers.
Absolutely.
So something in our past must have happened. Right?
Well, I think
to trigger that.
I think so. I mean, I think you look at, and I'm sure there are comics that come from stable lives or whatever, but the majority of comics,
Just kidding.
yeah, but a majority of comics don't. They they come from broken homes.
But the
and
thing is, like, I always thought I was an exception to that rule, and I really am, because my parents have been together for 40 some odd years. 44 years, I think.
wow, that's amazing.
What is the math? 1976 to now. Yes, 44.
Yeah, it'd be 44.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've been together the whole time. They've lived in the same house since I was a kid. Never moved.
Wow.
No horrible traumatic deaths or abuse or anything of the sort. And so I've been trying to think of, like, why do I need this then? Like, what is the...
Were you a theater kid?
In junior... Yeah, I always wanted to be an actor of some kind.
So you did theater and stuff in high school at all?
Because
I feel like when it comes to, like, comedy and stuff, it's either come from a broken home where you need that attention, or even if you come from a stable home, you have that acting bug. And
I don't know.
I don't know
why.
The theater bug, I guess, rather.
My grandma was a singer, not an actor, but she was, like, wanted to be famous and everything, performer. So maybe it's in some. And my grandpa on the same side was like a musician. He played in big bands back in the day.
Oh wow!
So there's like a performance streak there, but I'm also the youngest, and I'm the only girl, and I asked my mom this one time. I was like, "Why do you think I do this?" Just a conversation about it. And she's like, "Well, I've thought about that, actually." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Well, my older brother had learning disabilities growing up." And she was like, I feel like I spent a lot more time trying to figure his schooling out, instead of, like, paying attention to you. Not that I was neglected by any means, but, like, that was her thing. And I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that does.
It's not that interesting of a story, I guess.
But it adds a logical thing to it, because I feel like people, when you don't have that attention, it's like people. So, like, my background, my parents were divorced, so and then they were both my dad worked all the time, and my mom was busy, just not trying to be an adult. So like, there was not a lot of attention that I got from my parents.
Yeah.
So
it
I
makes
totally
sense.
know. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
But I was also made fun of pretty hard in elementary school, like 5th and 6th grade. It was pretty rough. So maybe, like, seeing, and then I got really into SNL in junior high, and I was like, oh, funny means acceptance, being accepted by all the cool kids.
Well, and I can see that, because, like, that's, like, especially with Saturday Night Live, because they had such a, like, mixture of people on it, especially I remember when I was in high school, like the cast that they had, they're very, very different, and you could tell that they were the people.
What was that cast?
It was like Adam Sandler.
Yes, my favorite.
Yeah, it was like the best cast, I think. But you could tell, like, those were the people that, if they were in my school, those would be the people I'd be hanging out with.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you could just, they were people.
I would have had the
like
biggest
us.
crush on every single one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam, you're so funny.
So have I.
Oh, yes, please do it more.
Heard that he's a really nice guy, too.
I
hope that
to be true.
Well, I was just listening to Keeping It Weird today, actually. And
You made it weird.
Are you? Yeah, that's what I.
How
yeah,
dare you?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I messed it up. You made it weird. Sorry, not keeping it weird.
It remains weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I love the podcast, but anyway, the guest was talking about that Adam Sandler came up to her at a show and like gave her like a really nice compliment.
That's so cool.
And just like it was just really nice.
He seems like
then
super down to earth.
Not only acknowledged her or whatever, but then acknowledged her significant other and like made him part of the conversation and stuff.
That's
so yeah,
very cool. I've heard good stories about him. I've also heard good stories about David Spade being really nice.
Yeah,
I would love to meet. Both.
Any ambitions to go out to California?
Only if I have a real solid reason to go. I'm not going to go out there and just see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I did.
No.
I went out there to see what happened. Well, I followed a girl out there.
Okay, that's never a good idea.
Let me take that back. I did not follow a girl out there. I moved with a girl.
There you go. You moved for a girl.
I moved for a girl. That's the appropriate terminology.
I moved for a dude to Denver when I was like 10 years ago, and it was not a great idea. But
yeah, well,
so
we live and learn, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't move. If I were to move to a different, bigger city, it would be New York, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have this pipe dream to sublet a place there for like a month, just to see what it's like to actually spend a significant amount of time there, more than like 4 or 5 days or whatever.
Yeah, which that's a smart way to do it, is to sublet a place for like a month and just go test it. For a month.
Exactly.
That's
then
really
I don't have
smart.
to, especially if it's already furnished and everything. You just
Yeah, you don't have a long-term commitment.
Yeah,
you can just go.
Yeah, and the thing is,
if you like it, then you can work on staying or whatever.
My boss is super cool, and she's like, I want to work with you. I told her, I was like, is this even a thing that could happen? And she said, yeah, we can make it work. It would be really cool. I think it would be awesome for you. I think you should do it. But the only problem is like, so I wouldn't lose my job, which would be great. But the only problem is like, money.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like I moved home to save money. I moved back with my parents last August. Very cool, very hip. And to save money, and it would be really stupid to just blow it all on like a month in New York.
Yeah.
So if it were to happen, it wouldn't happen probably till like 2021.
No, it's good to
or
have
further.
goals, though. I mean, that's.
Plus, I would want to go see SNL more times than the times.
Right,
I've seen
that
it.
would probably all you do is go watch
Really?
it. Are you still a fan of the show?
Yes.
Yes. Still watch it.
I'm loyal, very loyal.
Well,
I watch every episode.
It's funny. I'm actually I haven't watched in a long time, but I was a big fan. And it's funny that I got into stand up because I was more a fan of sketch than I was stand up.
Yeah.
Like I love The Kids in the Hall and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm like doing stand up and not
it's
sketch
kinda weird,
or
right?
improv. It is really weird.
Honestly, the reason I got into stand up in the first place, like I'd wanted to do something because I was so crazy about SNL through junior high and high school. And the era that I was into was the Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, David Spade era, and like Kevin Nealon, Norm Macdonald. Like they're all stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's how you get on SNL is you're a stand-up comedian. But little did I know that every other person pretty much was an improviser and a sketch.
Yep. And even a lot of them, I think, probably had a little bit of improv backgrounds, didn't they?
Some of them maybe, but not. I mean, I don't think Adam Sandler ever took an improv class. Maybe I
honestly don't know.
But I think I've heard and read that maybe it's not an every season thing, but they do improv together as a cast. Which would make sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like a standard thing they do.
Huh, that's interesting. I wonder, that would be fun, though.
Yeah.
Could you imagine doing improv with a cast of Saturday Night Live?
Yeah. Hey, Chris
That'd be
Kattan,
amazing.
sound ball.
That would be so fun. Oh my god, that'd
Will
be
Ferrell,
amazing.
zip.
Yeah, it's amazing. That show's been around forever too.
45 seasons.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's insane.
It is crazy. It's like it's got to be getting close to one of the longest running shows around.
I think it's definitely is, other than like Sesame Street, maybe.
Yep. Well, there's actually one of the longest running children's shows was a show made in South Dakota, which is crazy that it was one of the longest running children's show.
You're
but
not gonna say the name
Captain
of it?
11,
Okay,
baby.
there we
Captain
go.
11. If you were a South
Cool.
Dakota kid, you knew who he was.
It's a good name.
It
It's a
is
really good name.
It is really good name. It was a really good, fun show. But yeah, it's like I want to say, don't quote me, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it hit a record for being the longest running children's show because it started like in the late 50s, I think. And
Okay.
It lasted up until like 2003, something
Dang.
like that, when the guy retired.
Yeah. So
yeah,
probably.
it went for a long time.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was just like a local cable show or whatever.
Yeah.
But what's we're gonna do some of the standard questions that I do before we get out of here. What's the worst thing you've ever said to somebody from stage?
Oh my god. Oh. I kind of have a habit of like if a it's not even that bad. I don't think it's that bad, but let's let society decide. I did a show fairly recently, and this I asked these questions to the audience. So I ask like who's got STDs? My set is so good, guys. It's like just
Go see her live. Go see her live.
Oh my god.
It's a party.
And this woman, she kept throwing this dude next to her under the bus, like throughout the whole show. Because I asked these questions as a joke, right? Like, no one's gonna answer that. And she like points to him like he does. And this was like the third time maybe that she's thrown him under the bus throughout the show. And she's in the very front. And I was like, woman, what the hell? And I was just like kept calling her woman. I called her bitch one time, but just not like you're such a like. Bitch, what are you doing?
Like, yeah, like the friendly.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much wrong with that. But somebody did tell me afterward that they were like, I couldn't believe you kept doing that. And I was like, oh, sorry. So I don't know if that's
she kept talking.
bad.
I don't feel like that's bad.
No, I'm not.
I'm not compared to some of the stuff I've seen people say to people in the audience.
I'm fairly respectful, as long as they're respectful, I guess. But I've never like said anything really rude because my mama taught me right.
Oh, there we
and
go.
I would be really afraid of somebody coming to get me after the show.
Right. That's like one of my biggest like fears, I think.
Yeah.
With performing. Like you just never know what somebody's gonna do after a show.
Yeah. Thankfully I haven't had to deal with many weirdos other than that guy.
Yeah, not after the show I haven't. I've had to while I was on stage. There's been a couple times where I was like, oh man, I'm about to get punched.
Really?
Like,
but maybe it's different
stuff,
for
it's like,
guys. I don't think women are often threatened to be punched in the face.
Which is good. That's how it should. That should how it should be.
Yeah, but men shouldn't be.
Well, no,
either.
I mean they shouldn't either. But
yeah,
I mean, I would rather somebody threaten a dude than threaten a lady.
You're such a white knight.
No, not at all.
I'm kidding.
No,
so you're a red pill guy? What the fuck are you saying right now, Dan?
I'm backing myself into a corner. All right.
No, I haven't said it. I don't think, unless somebody wants to refresh my memory.
You're like, all right,
Like,
if I ever said anything bad to you,
I
let
called
me
that
know.
elderly woman a douchebag? What?
Whoa. Yeah, I think the worst thing I try not to be very mean on stage either, but I saw one comic, he got mad because this woman was heckling, and it was like during a contest. He got so mad. He used the C word and just like, and it just like ended his set. Like after that, he lost like the whole audience and just like, and as soon as he got off stage, he's like, man, I totally fucked up. I should not have said that. I got too mean, too aggressive, and like, he knew. He was like, yep, I should not have did that.
The only time
he immediately felt terrible.
Yeah,
as soon as
I'm sure. The only time I felt anger from an audience was that woman this last Saturday. When she was like, it wasn't even that bad, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be out of here in like a minute, and she's like, thank God, and I was like, oh, okay, she really doesn't like me. But that's like a very nice, comparatively not
Oh,
terrible.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. And I mean, that's the thing with we're not going to be able to please everybody. There's going to be
it is what it is.
There's going to be one person in the audience that doesn't
like I said,
us.
she's a total stranger. I do not care. If that was a comic from our scene, I'd be like crushed. And also think they're an asshole.
Fair enough. And do you have? Do you record your sets then? Do you watch them back ever or listen to them?
Sometimes I do.
Is it hard for you to do that?
Sometimes.
I have a hell of a time doing that, like listening back.
Yeah, I should videotape myself more, because last time I did, I was like, damn, my posture sucks. Like, I need to work on that. And I move around so much on stage. I need to work on that, because like I can't get a solid picture of me just standing there. It's always me doing some crazy maneuver or whatever, or it's blurry, or my face is doing something insane. What was the question? Sorry.
What if you have?
If I record, yeah.
And then, and if you have trouble like watching it back,
I'll record when I'm doing new stuff. I usually record when I'm doing Spring Street, because it's mostly new stuff. So I can, work on it. Occasionally I'll record like a regular set, but it's so rote kind of now that I don't feel the need to, or don't want to deal with it, or use up all the space on my phone for it. But sometimes I hate watching. It really depends on how I feel that day. Like, if I'm feeling some solid self-hatred, it's going to be bad. But if I'm feeling like I really like myself, then it'll make me feel maybe better, or it'll make me not like myself. I don't know. It's I don't know.
It's kind of all over
It's
the
fun
place.
to be pleasantly surprised.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I have a hell of a time watching or listening back. I hate the sound of my voice.
Yeah,
so.
I'm definitely not a fan.
Yeah, me either.
Of your voice.
Do you feel? I don't blame you. Nobody should be.
It's such a standard man's voice. There's
I
nothing
can't.
wrong.
I'm not really a roast person. Bam, bam. Take that. It's too easy. I totally set that up. And do you feel like you're good at evaluating your set? Like when you try to analyze it?
If I watch it, yes. But if I, like, after doing the set and coming off stage and feeling like it sucked, sometimes, like, I'm pretty bad. I overthink it, and I think it's worse than it was, for sure.
Oh, I do that a lot.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm okay. I think I'm pretty okay with evaluating my set.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Before we do,
okay, but
the final thing that I like because we talk about so much sad and depressing stuff on this podcast, I like to leave on something positive. What's something, and it can be whether it's career, comedy, personal life, doesn't matter what it is. What's something you're really proud of so far that you've accomplished in life?
Oh man, I'm actually really proud of a lot of things that I've done.
Well, then
like, I look back and I think I'm a fairly cool person, because I used to be a paramedic, and that's not difficult.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and I used to do special effects makeup for like short films and music videos and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Comedy's cool, but I think my most proud thing is grammar. My proudest thing is probably this makes me sound like such a white woman. My proudest moment is when I adopted my dogs. I've had 3 dogs, and the first one died after 9 months, and the second one died 3 weeks after that.
Oh, Jesus.
And the last one, I'm just going to talk in my regular voice now. The last one, Henry, has been with me for almost 7 years now. So,
thank
things
God.
are going well with that guy.
That's good. I was like, remember where I said this was supposed to be happy?
You're
right. My dog.
Yeah. No, but my first dog, Gary, was he was like an old woman's dog, and she either died or went to a nursing home or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I had him, and he was kind of a dick. He was a biter. He was kind of an asshole. He was my asshole, but he was kind of an asshole. So he died after 9 months from some kind of cancer, and then I got another dog who was a puppy mill bitch. Is there a nicer way to say that?
No, probably
breeding lady.
Breeding lady.
Lady of the breeding. And she died 6 weeks after Gary died, and her name was Billy.
Wow.
And she had some kind of tumor that the rescue didn't tell me about. And then Henry, he was a puppy mill stud, so he was like kept in a cage his whole life, and they had to take his teeth out. He has no teeth.
Oh.
I know, but I've had him for 7 years now.
Oh,
so
sweet.
So I'm proud that I'm proud because I feel like if anyone else had adopted Gary, they would have returned him because he was a biter. He was kind of like I don't know. They wouldn't have had as much tolerance of it, I guess, as me. And then Billy was the cutest, sweetest little dog, and I just imagined like a family with a kid adopting her, and then like she dies 3 weeks after you get her.
Oh, Jesus.
And like how
so
heartbreaking
sad.
would that be? So
It
it
would be
sucked
very
for me, but I
heartbreaking.
was already sad about Gary, so it's like, okay, I'll just keep being sad for a while more.
It's just, what's a few more
Yeah.
weeks of this? Yeah,
So-
I couldn't imagine life without my animals.
I know.
I'm like, oh my God.
I went 3 weeks without getting another dog after Gary. So, but I got Billy and Billy and Henry at the same time. So Henry has remained.
Oh, so you had them at the same time.
They weren't like adopted together, but I adopted Henry and then I fostered Billy and then I adopted Billy and then she died. So I'm proud that I could save these little creatures, you know.
Well, there you go. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, sorry to bring it down a notch.
That's all right.
Adopt, don't shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Get them for babies.
I don't want you to release this episode until you change the title of your podcast to The Art of Blomming, okay?
The Art of Blomming.
Yes.
Maybe that'll have to be the subtitle.
I don't bomb, I blom.
You blom.
Every night.
Oh.
All day, every day.
Nice. Where can people find you online blomming?
Well, you can go to theblom.com, which is the Blom, BLOMB, because I was like bomb with an L, but most people think that's a poor choice. So
I think that's amazing.
you can either go to
I might be
theblom.com
biased.
or you can Google Carolyn Blomberg, or you can go to the-blom.com. I've really this past week, I've really messed up my website. So just Google my name and you'll find it.
All right.
And I'm on Facebook too.
There you go.
theblom.com.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. This was great.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitz Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week. And remember, stay safe so you can live to love.